other by my colleague, Mr. Uematsu. The first presentation, the first topic that we will present and will discuss is related with the main topics that are part of this national framework on occupational safety and health. The terminology that the IALO is using and the approach that the IALO is using. We will discuss also what is the rationale, why the ILO is proposing this approach for the governance, for the national governance on occupational safety and health. And connected with that, we will also present the experience of Japan by my colleague, Mr. Muneisa Uematsu. Because Japan, together with South Korea, were the first countries that developed this strategic approach to occupational safety and health. In the 50s, both countries start developing occupational safety and health, the governance of the occupational safety and health, using this program approach, and were very successful. And in fact, one of the things that the ILO does is checking what the different countries are doing at the national level and try to absorb, try to check what experiences are becoming successful and trying also to disseminate to the other countries. So Conventions 187, that basically is the Convention on the Promotional Framework of Occupational Safety and Health, is an experience that comes from Asia, particularly from these two countries. And of course, many other countries in many other regions have adopted this approach. And this is why we are going to analyze all these issues. So let's start with this presentation. And I would like just to ask you if in any moment you want to make a comment or a question, please stop me and we will discuss. It's just to avoid to be very unidirectional. The idea is just try to satisfy your curiosity or your try to interact as much as possible. Okay, I will start with this presentation then, and we will go ahead. So, as mentioned, this will be okay. The first thing that I would like to start is with the how the national system is developed in one country. It means how we have this problem on the occupational accidents and diseases, and how the different structures are being developed in most of the countries. First thing that we have to take into consideration is that is the fact that, well, this problem is because there are accidents and diseases at the workplace level. Of course, enterprises and workplaces are there just to provide some services or some goods. They are organized in a way to produce these goods or services to become efficient from the economic point of view. But as a secondary outcome, there are undesirable outcome are the occupational accidents and diseases. And most of the enterprises, most of the workplaces don't adopt measures automatically to try to avoid accidents and diseases. And this is the reason for which it is necessary to develop a system from the public authorities to promote, first, to take care of these accidents and diseases, and second, to try to prevent these occurrences. So first thing to take into consideration is that, workplaces happen, accidents and diseases happen in the workplaces, and it's there where we have to try to prevent these accidents and diseases. because sometimes enterprises are not, they don't take the initiative to do it by themselves. So what is the first reaction when you have accidents and diseases in the workplaces? The first reactions of public authorities, workers and employers is to try to adopt measures to try to provide medical care and compensation for the sick leave periods of these injured or sick workers. So public authorities normally, one of the first reactions when there are occupational accidents and diseases is that create different systems to provide these compensations or insurance or medical care for those workers that suffer these accidents and diseases. But at the same time, different experiences have shown that it's also important, necessary, and possible to adopt preventive measures in the workplaces. And this is why public authorities adopt policies for the prevention of occupational accidents and diseases and adopt regulations, laws and regulations, creating the obligations in the workplace to adopt measures to prevent these occupational accidents and diseases. They also develop labor inspection systems or safety and health inspection, or give to the existing labor inspectorate the duties of also to enforce these safety and health laws, and there is a sanction system. What you can see here is basically what you can find in every country. You can find regulations, you can find inspection system, sanction systems to try to promote the prevention of safety and health in the workplaces. This is necessary, but this is not sufficient. In fact, the experience of many countries shows that there are other components that are necessary. So there is one important component that is the need of information and technical assistance in the workplaces. It means that only with the regulation and the inspection and sanction systems are not enough for the workplaces, for the workers and for the employers to adopt all the necessary measures to prevent accidents and diseases. Safety and health is complex, and you need frequently technical advice. In which way this technical advice is provided? Sometimes public authorities create a national institute or a safety and health department that provide centralized. They provide guidance documents or guidance to the companies. Frequently, this support is also important, but it's not enough. Frequently, workplaces need technical assistance in the workplaces. So this is why sometimes in many countries, they have created regulations, creating the obligation of the employer to hire in a temporary or a permanent basis safety and health staff that can help the enterprise, workers and employers to deal with safety and health, how to prevent occupational accidents and diseases. Additionally, you need to develop in the country a system to provide training and education on occupational safety and health. Training of whom? Training of the employers, training of the workers, training of the inspectors, training of the safety and health specialists, because they are the ones, all of them, they have duties on safety and health, and they have to perform these duties just to avoid occupational accidents and diseases. Education is something that in many countries has been developed. It means that in primary, secondary school, in many countries, they have included these contents of safety and health, not occupational safety and health. When you are in primary school, you are not talking to occupational safety and health, but safety and health in the school, safety and health in the streets, at home, etc. The idea is to generate a safety and health culture for the very beginning of the studies of the people. Additionally to this training and education and information and technical assistance, is also necessary to develop methods in which public authorities can collect information on what is happening in the workplaces. If we don't know how many accidents or in which way we have accidents and diseases in the workplace, we don't have ways in which we can adopt policies against these accidents or diseases. For example, during many years, public authorities didn't know that asbestos was so dangerous that even different ways of approaching or dealing with this product are not very successful. So more than 50 countries in the world, they have decided to ban asbestos-free because they have known that asbestos is quite dangerous, and the best way to deal with this topic is banning. This is the decisions of many countries. So systems of collection information and analyzing information should be in place by the public authorities to generate the necessary information. Other things that have been done by many public authorities is to develop a special program with the enterprises. In some countries, they have decided to create particular programs for small businesses, because sometimes small businesses may need special measures, special promotional measures on safety and health, or you can work with multinationals and their supply chain, or you can work also with those enterprises that can implement management systems. For example, in some countries, enterprises that implement an occupational safety and health management system are excluded from inspection visits unless there is a complaint or there is a serious accident, or they have created other systems. There are certification and prohibition systems. For certification systems means that there are some tools, processes, machines that are so dangerous that the public authorities may require the enterprises to certify these devices yearly, because these frequently are causing serious accidents, like, for example, boilers, lifts, cranes, etc. They have also created systems, prohibition systems, for which they prohibit, they ban the productions and trade or the import of some material substances that are particularly dangerous, like asbestos, or like some pesticides, or some materials or substances that has been proven to be very dangerous. So this is another way in which public authorities try to adopt measures for avoiding accidents and diseases in the workplaces. And frequently, there is another very important part, is the participations of workers and employers at the national level to discuss the national policy and national activities, and also the participation, the bipartite participations at the workplace levels, creating safety and health committees or safety and health specialists representing the workers, so that the discussions on what can be done at the enterprise level can take place in this level. So this is one way in which in many countries have been developing the different structures and the different functions that are necessary to be successful in occupational safety and health. What we have ILO have found that still there are many countries that trust mainly on regulations and inspection and sanctions approach, just to promote safety and health in the workplaces. These functions are very necessary, but are not enough. Other functions or other activities and other approaches have been successful in many countries, and this is something that needs to be promoted. When this strategic approach of the ILO, ILO refers to this national governance of occupational safety and health frequently like a strategic approach on safety and health. So this approach was adopted in a meeting that took place in 2003 in an ILO International Labour Conference of the ILO on the global strategy on occupational safety and health. This global strategy on occupational safety and health basically say that to progress on occupational safety and health in one country, you need two fundamental pillars. One is building and the maintenance of a national preventive safety and health culture in each country. And the second is the introduction of a system approach to the management of national safety and health systems. So let me just go more in concrete about what is the meaning of these two elements. When ILO talks about national preventive safety and health culture, they talk about the right of a safe and healthy working environment respected at all levels, at the enterprise level, at the sectoral level, at the national level. This is one of the paths. Second is, it means also the tripartite participation in a system of defined rights, responsibilities, and duties of everyone. And the third element is the principle of prevention is accorded the highest priority. This is what it means, according to the ILO, a national preventive safety and health culture. Another element that it was also mentioned is this management system approach adopted for the national governance of the occupational safety and health. What means this management system approach? In 2001, the ILO adopted the ILO guidelines on occupational safety and health management systems. These ILO guidelines on occupational safety and health management systems basically promote the inclusion of a management system at the enterprise level. And it has 5 elements, according to the ILO. First is setting a safety and health policy in the enterprise. Then establishing organization and responsibilities in the enterprises. Then planning and implementing the elements of our safety and health management systems, evaluating and review the performance within the enterprise, and then taking action for continual improvement. Basically, what the ILO in 2003 promotes is that at the national level, public authorities should adopt this kind of approach, but at the national level, starting with setting a national policy on safety and health. Second, establishing and progressively develop a national safety and health system. Third is formulating and implementing national safety and health programs. Reviewing the national safety and health programs is what we have achieved with this national program. And then formulated a new national safety and health program for continuous improvement. So these are the approach that is promoted by the ILO. And in this approach, there are 4 important concepts or elements. First is the safety and health policy that already mentioned by my colleague Manal last session. That should be the main goal. Basically illustrate what is the purpose and the goal of what we are doing on occupational safety and health. The safety and health systems is the infrastructure and the resources of a country on occupational safety and health. Is the legal and institutional framework in charge of occupational safety and health in one country. It includes not only the public resources, but also include everyone that is working on safety and health. in one country. For example, it does not include only the inspectors, but also includes how many occupational doctors do we have in the country? How many safety and health specialists do we have in our country? You know, all the resources that we have in one country. Then there is the safety and health profile, but basically it's a diagnosis on what is the situation in our country on occupational safety and health, and what are the resources that we have on safety and health in our country. And then this occupational safety and health program is how we will achieve the results that we are planning in our policy. I mean, we have some goals, some general goals in our safety and health policy. We have a situation, we have some resources. We prepare a profile that is a diagnostic of the situation, and based in these situations, we will run a national program on occupational safety and health. This is basically the idea that is proposed by this ILO promotional framework on occupational safety and health. Let's go to see what is, according to the ILO, the national policy on occupational safety and health. A policy is a course or method of actions deliberately chosen that guides or influence future decisions. Basically, is something in which you say, I mean, a public institution or a national public authority say, well, we want to achieve this purpose. This is our goal, and these are our resources for that. These policies should be formulated, implemented, and periodically reviewed, and should be in consultation with the most representative workers and organization and employers organizations. Should have as an objective the prevention of occupational accidents and diseases, and should include the interinstitutional coordination. What it means? It means that this is not just the policy of a single institution. It should be a national policy. And frequently on occupational safety and health will require the involvement of different authorities, because frequently in one country, there are not only ministries of labor, but frequently Ministry of Health, Social Security may have some competences on safety and health. So a national safety and health policy should ensure some interinstitutional coordination among the public authorities involved. So in the adoption of the national policy, social partners should be consulted. A draft policy should be presented in a national tripartite meeting, discussed and refined and adopted, and should have the strongest political support and be widely disseminated. Basically, is the commitment of the public authorities to deal with safety and health with one general goal, and identifying also main responsibilities. Here you can see the pictures of one exercises that we did in Palestine with the Palestine Authority, workers, employers, and government representatives in drafting this national policy on safety and health in Palestine. What are the purposes of this national policy? Provide clear direction to the government's mandate, provide transparency and openness regarding the way in which the government perform the functions. It's also a sign of accountability. I mean, this is what we want to achieve, and these are our commitment, and it's the basis of operational plans, and it is the first step. And normally you can have different topics that sometimes the national policy is a single separate document. Other times there is no such a separate document. Sometimes this national safety and health policy is part of a wider national health policy or national labor policy. Sometimes there is the foreword of the main regulation on safety and health. For example, here you have the example of Japan, in which the introductions or the rationale, or in this case, the Article 1, basically provide a statement on what is the national policy of Japan. This is the case, for example, of Denmark too. But there are other countries that they have decided to have a separate document. For example, here you have an example of South Africa. You have this Occupational Health and Safety Accord. You see that is quite simple, quite basic. And you can also observe that here you have the signatures of the public authorities, the most representative workers organizations, and the most representative employee organizations that endorse this national policy. What are the main contents that you can find in the national policies? Main contents are basically the commitment of the public authorities, the aim and purposes of the policies, and the principles guiding the action on occupational safety and health. These are the main topics that you can find in most of the policy documents. There are other policy documents that include additional contents, like, for example, what are the main spheres of action on occupational safety and health, or what are the workers covered by the policy, the type of actions and infrastructures that are required for this policy, or the assignments of functions and responsibilities of the main stakeholders. For example, in this point number 7, for example, in the case of Brazil issued the national policy on safety and health by a presidential decree. And in this presidential decree is written also what are the main responsibilities of the main public institutions. In Brazil, the Ministry of Labor, Ministry of Health, and Ministry of Social Security, all these three ministries have competences on safety and health. And in this national policy is determining what are the responsibilities of each one of these ministries. So this is why it was issued by the president of Brazil in a presidential decree. But in different countries, they have different approaches. I'm bringing just some examples, for example, of how the commitment is expressed, the different contents are expressed. Here you have, for example, the example of India, that is expressing the commitment of the public authorities regarding safety and health. Here you have some examples on the aim and purposes of the policy. You have 2 examples, one example from Estonia, and another example from Brazil. Next, you have some examples on what are the principles guiding action on occupational safety and health. What are the most common principles that are mentioned in the national policy documents? I mean, the prevention of occupational accidents and diseases, assessing occupational risk or hazards and control depth at the source, developing safety and health culture, tripartite consultations, continuous improvement, interinstitutional coordination. These are the principles that are more frequently included in these policy documents on safety and health. Here you have an example from the Netherlands, expressing a little bit some of these principles. Another element are the main spheres of actions for occupational safety and health. So Here, these are the most common elements mentioned on safety and health policies. They deal with the material conditions, the working environment, work content of organization, adaptation of working conditions to the workers' attributes and capacities. Or regarding the workers covered, which workers are covered? Here you can see that in the South Africa, they mentioned that all workers and employers in all sectors of economy and in all forms of employment relationships. In some countries, they mention employees of the private sector. I mean, sometimes public sector are excluded, or other times they don't explicitly include, for example, those workers that are not, for example, they are not explicitly mentioning casual workers or fellowship holders, or the informal economy, the workers in the formal economy are not explicitly mentioned, etc. So this is something that some policies have included. Types of action and infrastructure. Here, for example, South Africa was mentioned policy making, standard setting, national authorities, inspectorates, etc. Research, training institutions, assignment of functions and responsibilities. Here you have a couple of examples. For example, in Australia, the national policy is mentioning the responsibility of the government regulating and enforcing workplace health and systems. Employers must provide safe and health workplaces and safe systems of work. Employees must work in a safe manner, etc., etc. So these are basically in which way different policies are drafted. But remember that the main contents are the commitment of the public authorities, aim and purposes of the policies, and the principles guiding of action. These are frequently part of all these policies that we have analyzed. Another element, by the way, in the platform, you have several examples of some of the national policies. I have included one document from India and also included a document from Namibia. In both cases, both in the Namibia and in the India, the policy is quite wide because in addition of the national policy, in some extent, they are also proposing some strategies of intervention, and they are indicating frequently also some programs of action. Let's go to another element, the national system on occupational safety and health. The national system on occupational safety and health, we mentioned it, are the infrastructure, legal and institutional framework in one country dealing with safety and health, and the resources available in that country on occupational safety and health. So it's important that the main functions in the system is the regulatory functions. I mean, who is in charge of issuing regulations or policies on safety and health, the enforcement function, the promotion and technical assistance, the education and training, the systems for obtaining and analyzing data, the insurance and compensation. These are some of the main functions, and these functions were already mentioned in the Convention 155, that is one of the main, or maybe the main convention of the ILO on occupational safety and health. What we find in most of the countries, that they have good regulations, or they have regulations, they have enforcement, but the weaknesses in most of the countries are the promotional and technical assistance to the enterprises, the education and training on safety and health, and the systems of obtaining and analyzing data on what is happening in the enterprises. These are frequently the most weakness functions that ILO find in many countries. Of course, there is always room to improve regulations or to improve inspection systems. And the thing is that, of course, as you always find in all the countries, regulatory institutions and inspection institutions, frequently most of the support that the ILO provides to these functions. But these other functions are very, very, very important and very necessary. If we compare the countries that are performing better on occupational safety and health, we always find that there are countries that they have developed assistance to provide assistance, technical assistance to the enterprises of safety and health. They have training and education systems on safety and health, and they also have good systems in collecting data on what is happening in the enterprises on safety and health and how to analyze this data. Let's go to see what is also the national profile on occupational safety and health. National profile is a diagnostic. Basically, is we analyze what is at this moment, at the moment that we elaborate the national profile, what is the situation of our country on occupational safety and health, and what are the resources that we have on occupational safety and health. What are the institutions? How many people are working? How many people are working in enterprises on safety and health? And the idea is of this national profile is to provide a common understanding on the problems of our country on occupational safety and health. Why is this so important? Because probably if you are from the government, you are from the employers, or you are from the workers' organization, you may have a picture that is totally different, or not totally different, but it's different on what are the priorities, what are the situation, what are the problems. The idea is having a profile that should be discussed also at the tripartite level. We may have a common understanding on the present problems in a country of safety and health, and what are the priorities of intervention on occupational safety and health. These are the main purposes of these national profiles. Here you have a table of contents on what are the elements that normally are collected in terms of to have a picture of the country on occupational safety and health. The legislative framework, the national competent authorities, the inspection and enforcement system, consultation, coordination, and collaboration that involves how social partners participate, or how you coordinate the different authorities in your country on safety and health. What are the information and advisory services and mechanisms, the occupational safety and health services, the insurance and compensation, if there are some laboratories or research institutions, education and training and awareness raising structures. So basically, of course, in addition of this information, you also have to collect information on how many workers you have in different sectors, how many accidents you have, how many diseases you have in your country, because they make a picture about the situation of your country. Here you have some examples of national profile. I have chosen, for example, there is one from Bangladesh, but many countries have developed these national profiles. Many countries already have several national profiles, because after you have a national profile and you adopt, based on this national profile and national program, when you finish the national program, you should update the national profile on the new situation. Here you have, I have shared with you some information by email in the platform, in the forum, on information that the ILO has collected from your country on occupational safety and health. It does not include only the national profile, it includes other information regarding regulation. It's not a fully updated information because most of this information that the ILO collects depends on the information that is provided by the countries, but you can find quite interesting information here. Another important element is the national program, as mentioned. The national program is any national programs that includes priority objectives and targets on safety and health to be achieved in a predetermined time frame and with indicator to assess progress. Sometimes this is what you didn't have in the national policies. National policies, they were some objectives, some priorities, some commitment, but you don't have mentioning time frames to achieve these objectives, or they were not means to check the progress in this direction. These national programs should be formulated, implemented, monitored, evaluated, and reviewed in consultations with workers and employers. Here you have some examples. This is an example from Australia. Australia normally has national programs of 10 years time. First one was from 2002 to 2012. Second was from 2012 to 2022. And this is the third one is 2023 to 2033. And they have one particularity in Australia. Australia is a federal country in which, if I remember well, they have 6 provinces. And each provinces, they have separate regulations and separate inspection systems. So frequently, the national program is a kind of a federal proposal, a federal document, but the action plans are a little bit separated by each one of the provinces where they have the inspectorates, they have different things. So this is one of the particularities of this country. Each country have their own particularity. For example, this is another example of Malaysia. Malaysia launched, the Prime Minister launched a national policy, and on this basis, they developed a national program. Malaysia is part of Asian countries. Asian countries is a group of 10 countries of East Asia that has agreed to develop national programs on occupational safety and health. Asian countries include Philippines, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, also include Myanmar, Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, Brunei. All these countries agreed that to progress on occupational safety and health, they should adopt this approach, and this is what they were doing. How this contains the different concepts are related. The national policy indicates the commitment principles and functions of at the national level on safety and health, and also the main goal frequently is the prevention of occupational accidents and diseases. The national systems are the available infrastructure of the and resources in one country on occupational safety and health, and the national situation is the current situation of the occupational accidents and diseases. The national profile basically collect all this information, collect the information on how is our national system and what is our national situation in terms of accidents and diseases. On the basis of these informations, they elaborate a diagnosis and analyze these situations, and they identify some priorities. With these priorities, it is developed a national program on occupational safety and health. We public authorities implement this national program, and then they review the impact of this national program. In which way what we have implemented in the national program has helped to reduce accidents and diseases or to increase our capacity, our resources. In general terms, some countries, when they develop these national programs, what they do basically is to strengthen the national systems on occupational safety and health. They develop new regulations, they increase the capacity of the labor inspection, they create new structure for providing training, etc., etc. And when you have a stronger national system, in the medium and long term, they will improve the situation of the occupational accidents and diseases. Some of the countries, they decided to implement some measures directly to reduce the number of accidents and diseases. And some of these measures are interventions made in some sectors of activity or in some particular risks. And depending on what are your priorities, you may have that you will improve your national system or your national situation. So when you implement already a national program and you evaluate the results, you should develop a new national profile on occupational safety and health. The difference of the old national profile and the new national profile is how successful you have been with your national program on occupational safety and health. Because you will compare how you were 5 years ago and how you were now. So national profile is also one way in which you can use it just to see how much you have improved over the years with your interventions. The ILO proposed the following steps for the formulation of a national program on occupational safety and health. One is, first, a tripartite agreement in the country. Second, coordination mechanisms involve the public authorities, but also with the social partners, how we will organize the drafting of the policy or the drafting of the profiles or etc. Sometimes it is decided that this is done in the framework of the National Commission on Occupational Safety and Health, or the National Committee on Occupational Safety and Health. Other times they adopt an ad hoc approach. Third is develop a national profile. Sometimes it's made with the help of an external consultant or the ILO, or sometimes it's made by the same social partners or public authorities. On the basis of this document, we have to analyze the situation in the country, and on this basis of this analysis, you have to propose priorities for national actions. On the basis of these priorities, you formulate a national program on occupational safety and health. You launch the program, and then you evaluate, you implement the activities of the program. You evaluate the results of this national program and the impact that has had in improving the national situation or improving the strength of the national system. And then there is mechanisms for continuing improvement. You have updating the national profile, analysis against the situation, prioritize, develop a national program, etc., etc. So this is the approach. Why this new approach? What is the new approach that the ILO proposed? This approach of having national programs on occupational safety and health has the idea to try to improve not only at the legislative level or an inspection level, etc. No, it has to improve safety and health as a whole. It means the idea is to have more impact, to have more relevance, to have more coherence. We have to analyze the situation in an integrated manner. What could be improved? because frequently the interventions were targeted specifically on regulations or on inspection, etc. Here, the idea is to have an integrated approach. This new approach is promotional. Basically, the ILO doesn't ask countries to adopt some prescriptions that are included in the conventions, but adoption of this methodology, this tool of developing a national profile, a national program, etc. And this provides, this new approach provides flexibility. It means that each country may decide to progress more or less depending on their level of development of safety and health, the level of development of the scientific knowledge in the country, the level of resources, and the particular priorities or prevalent risks or sectors of activity. It means that one country can progress in 3 years' time more or less, depending on the situation, but two countries, even they may have different level of progress, but both countries, if they are following this methodology, these methods are in compliance with the ILO conventions 155 and 187. So not everybody should reach a minimum level as in the other conventions. Each country can progress, follow their pace, their capabilities, the resources, and the political will, because at the end, sometimes countries progress more on safety and health because there are a political commitment on that. Other times, the political commitment is not so important because they have other priorities, etc. So why the ILO proposed this new approach? Because before, the old approach is very reactive. I mean, in many countries, public authorities decide to work on safety and health when something happens. For example, we have a big accident, or we have a political discussion on safety and health. And this is, so they react when they have a big problem. And now this approach is different. They propose proactive approach. Let's analyze the situation and how we can go ahead and how we can propose. For example, in Bangladesh, Rana Plaza accident brought a lot of interest from public authorities, social partners, even other organizations at the international level on safety and health because of this situation. It was good, but it's a reactive way. I mean, this happened in many countries. The traditional approach is more focused on institutional performance. I mean, they were more on the policy, the labor inspection policy, or the labor policy instead of a national policy. The idea is that we have to think in national terms, and we have to involve the different institutions, not just think that we will work from one single institution, but try to bring together all the different institutions. And you have to try to coordinate interventions with other institutions and better distribute the institutional responsibilities. Because traditionally, there was a problem. There are different institutions, different ministries working in parallel without coordinations, without distribution of responsibilities, with overlappings, etc. Frequently, another problem is that they were more focused on institutions or traditional approach. They were more focused on activities than on impact. It means that when you say, what is the impact of your institution, of your labor inspector, for example, frequently you talk about, we did so many inspection visits, or we basically impose some sanctions, or we identify some breaches of the law, or we correct some violations. But you perform on the, I mean, your way of performance is in terms of how you do, what activities you were doing, instead of what you achieve with these activities. How many accidents less you have in this year than the previous one, or how many improvements were made in the work in the activities. So traditional approach were mainly focused on legislative solutions, try to find a new law to deal with new problems. The idea is that, okay, sometimes legislative solutions are good, are the best options. Other times you may try other different options. Sometimes traditional approach try to fulfill the institutional functions, but not trying to address in a different way emerging problems. For example, some institutions, for example, labor inspectors try to replicate, always try to do the same things instead of planning different ways of interventions. There is a frequent lack of correspondence between the responsibilities assigned and the resources allocated, and they have poor evaluation systems. The new approach frequently have tried to increase concrete commitment and visibility, promote coordination and communication among different institutions, improve efficiency, because we will focus on priorities, and priorities means that they are the most relevant things in which you can allocate your resources. So you will be more efficient. You will use your resources in the best possible way. The idea is to focus more on impact instead of focus only on the actions that you perform. The idea is what I achieve with the activities that I perform. Rethinking the efficiency, effectiveness in the way that institutions operate. Would it be better to operate in a different way? We have to make ourselves these questions, and this new approach facilitate measures for the progress and the success. We have to demonstrate that what we are doing in our department, in our institutions, is successful, particularly if we want to justify additional resources for progress. Here you have some of the main roles of the stakeholders, both governments with social partners. Normally, the governments have the lead, they have the leaders in these decisions, and social partners should participate actively because they are bringing very important issues in the discussions, and they also ensure the legitimization of these national policies and interventions. This is what we mentioned before on the different concepts, what are the main content of the different content. And I would like just to ask you if you have any question on any comment that you may want to share with us before having other intervention.
Morning for all of you, and many thanks for your rich presentation. As in, I'm Avelin from Mozambique.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm very happy with this presentation because we signed, we ratified the convention. Those both conventions, I mean, 155, 100, and 187.
Okay.
Yeah, last in November. Okay, and we have a big challenge to for implementation of the policy and the program also. And I understood that you gave us some topics, okay, in a general vision that we can do, or you can help us to build or to make it possible. Okay, I mean, it will help us to build this program and the polls also, of course. Yeah, so many thanks for that. And I believe many things are very useful in your presentation for Mozambique and the other countries, I'm sure. And I will try to follow it. Okay. So first, I want to say also that unfortunately I'm still busy with the National Conference of Health and Safety in Mozambique. Even now, I just take a minute to be in the program or in this training. So on I will have some difficulty to be constantly in the meetings. Okay, so I think that next week I will be very busy also, and sometimes I will not be able to be on time. Okay, but I will do my best to participate in the training because I think that is very important for us, and it talks about the things that we're supposed to do to make our OSH our OSH strong. Okay, yeah. Thank you. It's all that I want to say in this moment, and I think I will get
Thank you.
more. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Avelino. Just to let you know a couple of things that could be also useful for you to know. First, we are planning maybe next year to organize one of these course similar in Portuguese for Portuguese-speaking countries. So we are trying to elaborate on the basis of this course a new course in Portuguese. So the idea is that also workers and employer representatives from your country can attend to these contents. The second thing that I can tell you is that in the past we have helped other countries, countries from not far from your country, Malawi, Zambia. They asked for support to draft a national tripartite workshop there, in which we brought workers, employer representatives, and members from other institutions, just to present and discuss this type of approach, because the important thing is that it's good that you all understand or follow these contents, but it's also better if other partners with whom you should discuss all these issues are also trained in the same way or in the same methodology, so that it will be easier for them to understand in which way you can progress on safety and health. So this just to share with you that this is part of our plans, the case of PALOP, and also the way in which we progress with other countries. I have another question from Johannes. Johannes, please. Okay.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. I muted myself. Thank you so much for the presentation. My apology, I joined a bit late, but I just have two questions. When I was following the presentation, I learned that there are certain workers that should be covered and those that should not be covered in the in the OSH legislation. And because as Namibia we are busy developing we have adopted the OSH policy, and we are busy with the OSH bill. But we were debating on which workers should be also included in this OSH policy, because we are of the belief that maybe not the policy, but the bill itself, which we are working towards the OSH Act. We are of the belief that maybe some workers, such as the military force, the police force, and the intelligence, may have acts already that cover them for OSH purposes. But it's a debate, and I don't know if there are countries elsewhere who have covered them, or they are supposed to have their law, their own law. If you have experiences of countries that they have covered them, and the second one is on the ratification. The ratification of the OSH conventions, C155 and C187. Namibia is one of the countries that you alluded to that weakened OSH system. We are weak in the sense that our educational institutions on OSH are not there, and we are lacking on the collection and analysis of data. It's one of them as well. And my question was, is transition possible with a weakened system for countries such as Namibia? Or do countries need first to show commitment that they are improving, or they have the will, the political support to increase or to strengthen their OSH system before they can rectify? So those are my two questions, and I submit. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your two questions, Johannes. I know that your country is doing a lot of effort. Also that you are also working in updating the safety and health regulation there with the support of our colleagues there. Well, regarding the workers covered, I mean, here what you mentioned is quite is common in some countries that forces, I mean, army, police, fire department, rescue bodies, they are not covered by the same regulation on safety and health. They are excluded, but it means that they should you should develop other kind of measures to protect the safety and health of these people. I mean, one thing is that they are not in the same safety and health law, under the safety and health law, but you should think in an alternative ways that to provide some protection on safety and health. Let me tell you one thing. I mean, for example, in my country, I'm from Spain. In my country, regulations and policy on safety and health covers everybody, including people in the army. You will say, okay, but the people in the army, part of their business is to take some risk. And it's true. But it is, in the case of my country, basically is during peace operation, I mean, in peace times, I mean, in which they are not, most of the activities that military forces do are like any other work. I mean, so they should follow the safety and health regulations as any other worker or any other institution. So there are some type of activities that may have a kind of exceptionality consideration. But basically, in my country, there are these forces. They have some exceptional situations that are regulated by other standards. But for 95% of their type of duties and jobs, they follow the safety and health regulations. Another thing that are frequently excluded are self-employed people. Why are self-employed people excluded? Are excluded because normally safety and health regulations are created in a way in which there is one duty holder, that is the employer, and one right holder, that is the worker. But in the case of self-employer, both are the same. I mean, they have to adopt measures to protect him or her. So sometimes they have formulated the law in such a way in which also self-employed should adopt safety and health measures, and they are obliged to self-care. So my suggestion is if you try, what would be my preference? To have a coverage of everyone. But you have to see the possibilities that you have there and the type of formulation that you have there. For example, what happens in the case of, in some countries, in the case of safety and health in agriculture, sometimes there is not always easy to find this relationship between employer and worker, because there is a lot of family work in the agricultural sector in the rural areas. So that there are plantations in which you have workers and employer, but in many parts there are not these two sides. So again, there are countries that they have decided to cover everyone using different formulations. And there are others that say, okay, we will exclude these groups, but these groups should be covered in a different way. I mean, you should take into consideration that. Regarding this ratification, this is something that you have to see with, I mean, the important thing for the ILO is when one country shows this commitment to ratify these conventions, normally you have to be in your way to adapt your national institutions and situations to what is required by the convention. In the case of Convention 187, what is required is that you will perform your planning, your implementations following this national program approach that we were presenting. If you are intending to continue working, drafting a policy, elaborating a national profile, having a national program, this is enough to ratify Convention 187. In the case of Convention 155, there are some activities that require that you update your national regulations to adopt what is required by the Convention 155. So my recommendation is that you talk with our colleagues that I think are connected with Namibia, that is Penny, and I think Julia Lear, that on this issue, and you will get additional guidance on that. It's okay, Johan?
Yes, thank you, Bill.
Any other question?
Thank you. Not for now.
Okay. Now then, I would like to invite my colleague, Mr. Muneisa Uematsu, to present the experience of Japan. That, as mentioned to you, is one of the first countries that follow this approach with, I would say, a lot of success. Please, Muni.
Okay, thank you so much, Felix. Thank you for your presentation. And hello, everyone. So before I start my presentation, let me just tell you just one thing. Most of you has completed the pre-CAT. Thank you so much. But some of them has not completed pre-CAT knowledge assessment test in the platform eCampus. So please complete the pre-CAT at your earliest convenience. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so I am very punctual person, and I will try to finish my presentation as scheduled, which means 12:30, but could be longer. So please allow me to start my presentation, and then I will start share my screen. Okay. Okay, let me start my presentation. So I will explain the experience of Japan in terms of occupational safety and health. This is the outline of the presentation. I will explain accordingly this table, current situation, national OSH policy, national OSH system, national OSH program, and implication from the Japanese experience. The first one, current situation. So this is a basic fact about Japan. The population is about 126 million, and employed persons are 56 million. And unemployment rate is 2.2%, and number of workplace is about 6 million. Approximately 75% of workers working in small and medium enterprises. Here, small and medium-sized enterprises means which have under 300 employees. And next, this is a transition of population in Japan. So this graph was made a little bit old, but the actual situation is just following these estimates. So we are decreasing. This is a total number of population. In 2060, we might be 8 million. Anyway, we are decreasing. Wait. So one thing I would like to mention here is about the aging rate. Aging rate is a population rate of 65 years and over. But in 2060, 40% of our population could be 65 years and over. It's going to be a large number, right? And on the other hand, this is a specific birth rate, indicating the specific birth rate. It's 1.35. It's very so we are having some problems about this population. This is the transition of industrial structure. Like many countries, at the beginning, the ratio of the primary industry is like about 50%, and then we are decreasing. The decreasing of primary industry is right now the 4% or something like that. On the other hand, the tertiary industry starts with 30%, and then more than 70% of industries are tertiary industry. But secondary industry remains same ratio, like 20% or 30%, something like this. Okay, this is the number of fatal accidents. So we had a large number of fatal accidents in the past. And in 1972, Occupational Safety and Health Act was enacted. And then we could decrease the number of fatal accidents gradually. And then we have like 1,000 fatal accidents per year. And this is a number of work-related accidents and diseases. Also, after the after OSH Act was enacted in 1972, the number was decreasing. One thing that I would like to mention here is we changed the definition of work-related accidents and diseases. Before, in 1972, our definition was work-related accidents and diseases are accidents with 8 days or more absence, but we changed it, the definition to 4 days or more absence. Why? Because we thought that to analyze the cause of accidents and diseases, it's not enough to think about only 8 days or more accidents. We wanted to collect many data as much as possible to analyze the cause of accidents and diseases. That's why we changed the definition, and also make the rule to collect, to make employer to report work-related accidents and diseases. This is a recent trends in occupational accidents and diseases. One aspect is a decreasing number of fatal accidents. The lowest is in 2020. Increased in manufacturing industry, but decreased number of fall accidents and road accidents. The other aspect is increasing number of casual accidents and diseases, especially in social welfare facilities, retailers, land transportation, and restaurants from the tertiary industries. And in fall accidents, and in aged workers, 60 years old or more, and also dispatched workers and foreign workers, and also in mental health disorders. So, like as I mentioned, we are having many older people. That's why we have many workers in social welfare facilities, tertiary industries, and also we have many aged workers. And about the mental health orders, we didn't recognize the relationship between work issues and mental health disorders in the past. But we changed our laws to recognize the relationship between mental health disorders and occupational safety issues. So that's why the number of casual accidents and diseases are increasing recently. And I would like to show a video about to let you know the Japanese real actual situation. This is a short video. Okay, connection is not so good, so I will stop here. But this is a video to explain the real situation in Japan. You might heard of the word karoshi, which means overwork. Overwork and people died with the overwork. So we have many cases, these kind of things. So maybe you can look up this video on YouTube. But I will stop here right now because I don't have so much time. Okay, next one, national OSH policy. This is the concept of promotional framework of OSH from Conventional 187. So you might have learned about this, so I will skip this explanation. This is the occupational safety and health law in Japan. So in Felix's presentation, he also showed this article, so I will skip this one. But in the occupational health or safety and health law, at the beginning, just Article 1, we just put this very basic information to explain the aim and purposes of this occupational safety and health law, and to clarify the responsibility of employers and what kind of types of actions are needed, something like this. And let's move on to national OSH system. Definition of national system from Convention 187 is written in Article 1. And the term national system for occupational safety and health, or national system, refers to the infrastructure which provides the main framework for implementing the national policy and national programs on occupational safety and health. This is sections related with occupational safety and health in the Ministry of Health and Labor and Welfare. So this blue color represents organizations from Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare. In the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare, we have Labor Standard Bureau. There are 300 officials are working there. And in this bureau, we have Industrial Safety and Health Department. And for your information, I'm originally from this division, Chemical Hazards Control Division, before I came here. And also there are 47 prefectural labor bureaus in Japan. There are 47 prefectures in Japan, and also each prefecture has prefectural labor bureaus. In that bureaus, they have labor standards department, and in charge of labor inspection division, health and safety division, compensation division, and wage and working hours subdivision, something like that. And then we also have a labor standards inspection offices, 321 offices and 4 branches, and totally 4,600 officials are working there. Each labor standards inspection office has a labor inspection section, health and safety section, and compensation section. And this orange color represents the external organization which collaborates the ministry in terms of occupational safety and health. One is National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health, and the other one is Japan Industrial Safety and Health Association. This is Labor Administration Organization. I think it's easy to understand. So we have one Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare, and then Ministry 47 prefectural labor bureaus, and 321 labor standards inspection office. So basically, labor standards inspection office supervises each enterprises, and prefectural labor bureau is supposed to supervise labor standards inspection office, and Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare is supervising prefectural labor bureaus. Okay. So this is one of the external organization to collaborate with ministry, National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health. I'd like to focus on the functions. This is a sole research institute in Japan. The functions are to conduct comprehensive and interdisciplinary research on NOSH, and to investigate complicated occupational accidents and diseases. So when work-related accidents happens, and in each case, labor inspectors are supposed to go there and to investigate the cause of the accident. But sometimes it's very complicated, and they could not figure out what was the reason why the accident happens. In that kind of cases, we asked this organization to come with them to investigate the more detail from the scientific viewpoint. And sometimes it's very complicated reasons, and they help us a lot. Okay. This is the other external organizations. Japan Industrial Safety and Health Association. This institution it was established based on the Industrial Accident Prevention Organization law. It celebrated the 50th anniversary from its foundation in 2014, and having close relationships with Ministry of Health, Labor, and Welfare, and supporting enterprises of voluntary OSH efforts. So mission, I would like to mention about the missions of this organization. One is to support enterprises in education and training of workers, and expert support of enterprises' OSH activities, and distribution of the latest information on OSH. So this is introduction of the Constitution of Japan. In Article 27, this let me explain about the Article 27. In this article, all people shall have the right and the obligation to work, and standards for wages, hours, rest, and other working conditions shall be fixed by law. This is a very basic statement written in the Constitution of Japan. So originally, the occupational safety and health legislation was a part of labor standards law, but in 1972, we decided to divide the occupational safety and health issues from the labor standards law, and from that point, 1972, we could we think we could focus on the occupational safety and health issues, and to strengthen many measures to tackle with many issues in terms of this field. Occupational safety and health law, and under this law, we have cabinet order, enforcement order of the industrial safety and health law, and also we have many ministerial ordinances like 18 or more. This is just just a part of examples. Very many information. And this is the introduction of mechanism of social dialogue. We have Labor Policy Council, and the Subcommittee of Industrial Safety and Health consists of a tripartite system. We have a representative of workers, and representatives of employers, and representatives of public interest. So usually in ILO context, tripartite system means workers and employers and government. But we in Japan, our tripartite system means workers and employers and public interests, which contains scholars and experts and journalists. From their, I think it's because maybe historical or political or cultural reasons, but because of including this public interest, we think that this is to ensure neutrality. This works well, and of course, government includes this discussion. Government was involved in this discussion about in any topics about labor topics. This is a chart of Labor Policy Council organization. We have many, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 subcommittees. And one of them, we have Industrial Safety and Health subcommittees. This is the introduction of National Arch Profile. This is, you can refer to some information from this link, but this is written in Japanese. So if you are interested in this information, you can translate it into your own languages. This is a system for the collection and recording of data on occupational injury and diseases. So this is a very important system because when we want to analyze the occupational safety and health accidents, we need a big data. So we have 321 labor inspection offices, and every offices has a machine, has a device to send the data about the occupational safety and health accidents. The report format contains these information, like expected days of absence, duration of the accidents, prime contractor, name of the injury, place of the injury, and the period of experience. So we gather this information at just one center. We have database center, and we gather this information, and we can refer to any information. Every officials can have access to this information, and not only the central minister, not only governmental official working in the central minister of labor, but also any other officials in the labor bureaus and labor standards inspection offices. And the next one is National OSH program. So I divided three phases: beginning and the reinforcement of the conventional approach, and the introduction to the voluntary approach. I show this figure, but the first stage is first program to third programs, and the second stage and fourth to eighth, and the third stage is 9th to 13th programs. One national programs is 5 years span. So let me explain from the beginning. At the first stage, from 1958 to 1972, we had a critical situation of rapid increase in industrial accidents. Which was 10% worth of the national budget was estimated to be lost. And there is a proposal from tripartite committee to the prime minister, and the cabinet approved the first 5-year national program on prevention of industrial accidents in 1958. And the highest level of commitment was made, and the tripartitely formulated the national program and increased social awareness by all stakeholders. And then we could stop the trend of increasing number of work-related accidents, finally. And move on to the second stage, from 1973 to 1997. A large number of work-related accidents still existed, but most of the accidents could have been prevented by learning from the past accidents, like mechanical, chemical explosion, fall from height. And OSH-related legislation has become too complicated. Like as I show, we have many legislations. And this is a substantial changes in legislation when establishing OSH Act in 1972. We input changes in the subject of responsibility, duty of care from responsible superior to employer, and strengthen the responsibility of top management of OSH issues. That was a very important change. In addition, a strengthening of the responsibility of master constructor in construction sector. And also a specialization of OSH issues, raising the social awareness on OSH issues. Also improvement of intelligibility through rearrangement of OSH-related legislation. And this is a review influencing regulatory compliance. The legislation should be clearly expressed and unambiguous to make it understandable by the target group and minimize the potential for differing interpretation. And legislation should be logically organized and coherent and consistent both internally and with other legal instruments. Also should include sufficient and suitable provisions for enforcement, both in terms of powers for inspectors and in terms of penalties that can be imposed. And should make available any necessary information for its compliance on what will be necessary to implement them and on how that can be achieved. Results of establishing of occupational safety and health law. The sudden drop of fatality around 1973 can be mainly explained by the economic slump, but constant and sustainable decrease in fatalities after 1973 is thought to be derived from the change in OSH-related legislation to the establishment of OSH law and complementary effect by the programs and law. So this one. So in this phases, the decrease of work-related fatalities might be the cause of economic slump. But after the economic slump, this decrease of the number of fatal work-related fatalities was derived from the real effect of our efforts. Let's move on to the third stage from 1998. The rate of decrease has slowed down. And expanding diversity of types of hazards at work, increasing variety and complexity of manufacturing processes, and the introduction of new chemical substances, and expanding outsourcing of industrial processes, increasing diversity of employment formats, and retirement of baby boomers with tacit OSH skills, emergence of ergonomic and mental health issues. And under this circumstance, legislation could not follow the diversity. So this is some interesting figures that I would like to show you. The necessity of a voluntary approach. These figures can come from in 2002, but it's worth to look. So in this year, fatalities by occupational accidents was 1,300, but cases with violation of OSH regulations was about 40%. But the cases without violation of OSH regulations were 60%. So even though they comply with OSH regulations, accidents happened. So we realized that the limitation of law regulations, but strongly recognizes the need to enhance voluntary approach to find out the risks by themselves. In the third stage, two amendment was done. One was 2005, introduction of risk assessment as voluntary obligation. Promotion of risk-based management systems approach at enterprise level. And the second one is 2015. We put obligation of stress check, addressed emerging workers' health issues related with overwork. So this is a chart, represents a shift in OSH measures. So before, So we were focusing on individual standards and minimum standards, experience-based regulations, but we recognize the need to be more proactive. So we moved to the different other perspective, like comprehensive regulations and voluntary effort and prevention principle are very important, are needed for the next stage. Okay, so implication from the Japanese experience. The focus of national OSH programs evolved over time to tackle with the issues at that time. In the high economic growth period, increased social awareness and tripartite committee. In the moderate economic growth periods, we strengthened conventional approach and prevention of classical accidents. In the matured economic growth period, which where we are, introduction of risk assessment and OSH management system. And also we have to think about mental health and musculoskeletal disorders. Like this. So this is an evolution over the time. And this one is a number of accidents. So from legal obligation to voluntary motivation, we need to approach by technical safety and management system, and then we move on to OSH culture aspect. Yes, a summary. So for the successful occupational safety and health measures, we need to consolidate the necessary conditions. Also, we need to establish a good system like legislation, enforcement, and cooperation. And also, we need a good program, of course, continuous improvements through PDCA cycle. And then we think we should think about a voluntary approach, risk assessment, and safety culture. So we developed our policies one by one, step by step. Each country cannot focus on voluntary approach at the beginning. First, we need to, we think we need to consolidate very basic policies and systems and programs. And then analyze the current situation. Maybe we might need to think about to move to another level, which is voluntary approach in this case. Okay, thank you for your attention. This is the end of my presentation. Okay, if you have any questions, please. Sorry, it's almost 12:46.
Thank you very much, Muni. Do you have any question or any comment that you want to share?
Yes.
Okay,
good morning. Yeah, good morning. A wonderful presentation, experiences in Japan.
Thank you.
I saw in your presentation that is it in the year 2020?
2020.
You have reduced. Yes, you have reduced a lot of accidents. What did you do differently that brought about this reduction?
Not only 2020, but we keep doing we try to keep our best to decrease the number of fatal accidents. So the sudden drop of the number is not caused by some specific things. It's a result of our continuous efforts. You know what I mean.
You have to take into consideration that even they were decreasing the number of accidents, even if they have increasing the number of workers.
Okay.
Okay. So this is I mean, the results are even better than it shows. If you use accidents rates are better, just the number of accidents. Yeah.
Thank you, Felix.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other question or comments? Well, let's then interrupt here this session. I would like to thank you very much to all of you for your attention. Yes, please.
Yeah, yes, Mr. Felix. The first presentation, whether I do not I didn't see the slides. The presenter promised she was going to make available the slides as well as today's presentation, whether we can get the slides.
You in the platform of the course, you already have the slides.
Okay.
So you can every day we are uploading after the sessions both the webinar registration and the slides. So you can get Additionally, if you may need additional slides on particular topic, let me know. I mean, we can share many other slides.
Okay.
We have hundreds of slides here. So
Okay.
Yeah. Sessions,
Okay.
recordings, and presentation. You can find presentations and the recordings here.
Okay.
okay,
Okay. Sessions. Okay.
okay. Nothing else. Oh yes, Johannes, please.
Yes. So sorry for taking you back. I was following, but I'm not so sure if I followed well or I'm confused. But according to the presentation of Mr. Mooney,
Yeah.
somewhere somehow I saw where they migrated from a risk assessment or legal risk assessment to a voluntary risk-based whatever assessment also. I'm now astonished actually how they moved from the legal-based one to the voluntary one, and they still managed to keep the number of accidents dropping. So I'm interested to learn now. Is it a behavior thing in the people, or have they managed to successfully implement a culture whereby everyone is working together towards a common goal, or is it because here sometimes we experience a behavior thing in both employers and employees, whereby if you are not so hard on the enforcement part, they tend to relax and they tend to sort of ignore your efforts. So I'm interested to learn from Mr. Mooney how that is going on there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. So in Japan, so we are focusing to promote the social awareness, and now people are realizing the importance of occupational safety and health issues, and that's why I think we were successful to promote the idea, disseminate the idea, concept of occupational safety and health. So now people are realizing the importance of occupational safety and health. But originally in Japanese culture, we tend to follow others in any issues. So many people tend to focus on the occupational safety and issues, and other people would like to follow their behaviors. So something like this. So I think we are successful to disseminate the concept of occupational safety and health issues. That's how we do. Yeah.
If you allow me, Mooney,
Yeah.
when Mr. Mooney was mentioning that this voluntary approach, it doesn't mean that they have changed it from following the regulations to have a voluntary approach. It means that still they follow the regulations, but additionally to the regulations in Japan are very prescriptive. They are telling you what are the main risks there and what are the measures that you have to adopt. So companies, they follow the regulations, adopt these measures, but they realized that there are many risks that they were not included in the regulations, because not everything can be included in the regulations. I mean, the reality is very, very much complex. So what is meaning regarding this voluntary approach is that then enterprises were told, look, in addition of the risks that are in the regulations, you have to actively and proactively identify what are the hazards and the risks present in your workplace, even if they are not in the regulations, and adopt measures to prevent and protect the workers against these hazards and risks. It means that it's not an alternative approach to the following the regulations. It's an additional approach, a supplementary approach. So they are told, look, in addition of this, to follow the regulation, you have to proactively look for hazard and risk and adopt measures for preventing accidents related with these risks that are not included in the regulations. This happens in some of your countries, that you have some prescriptive regulations, but there are many circumstances in the reality that are not contemplated in the regulations. So the approach of Japan is quite interesting, because they realized it, because this analysis that they did in 2003, that many of the fatal accidents were not related with the hazards and the risks that they were included in the regulations. And this is why they decided, okay, from now on, in addition of following the regulations, you have to proactively look for new hazards and prevent them. Additionally, of course, they are empowering the people and raise awareness on the people to self-care themselves to avoid accidents and diseases. But the basic thing is that they are asking in enterprises, look, from now on, you have to look for any kind of hazard or risk in your workplace. This is the good thing. Okay?
Thank you, Felix.
Ilham, you have any question or comment?
Sorry, no. You
No,
have
okay.
answered that very well. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So then we will interrupt this session. Thank you for your participation. Remember that we will have a next session that is quite interesting one on next Monday. Is on regulation of safety and health. And in this topic, the ILO has elaborated a very interesting document it's a big, huge document, 400 pages, but it's how to develop safety and health regulations. And we will have one person that has been involved in this process, that is Julia Lear, our colleague from ILO, to present and discuss this issue. If you are involved in safety and health regulations and drafting, this is you will find it very interesting. Okay. Thank you again, and see you on Monday.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Facilitators. Bye-bye. Monday.
Thank you. Have a nice time.
Thank you. Yeah, nice time.